Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda,
And I'm Jake Bennett.
and welcome to episode 106 of the North Meet South Web podcast.
Hey, you're gonna have to do it again. You're gonna have to shift the audio. Chicka chicka chana.
Don't worry
You're
about
gonna
it.
have to shift my audio again.
I always
Yeah,
shift the audio
because
because we've always got like
mm,
a 300 millisecond delay anyway. So
yeah, there's always a delay. Hey,
this
by
is
the
standard.
way, there is this thing I saw on Hacker News actually that was this deal where it's like, most streaming or not streaming, but most like software like this, like Skype or like FaceTime or like Teams or whatever it might be, right? It's
Hmm.
optimized for conversation. And so it will allow for a little bit of lag in order to get a little bit better,
Yeah.
um, I don't know, like a tiny bit of lag in conversation isn't a huge deal.
Mm.
But where that is a big deal is when you're doing music.
Yeah.
So that applies to like people who are doing music lessons over Skype or over, Zoom because they don't want to meet because of COVID and all that stuff,
Mm.
right? Or people who want to like have a jam session online.
Mm.
Well, it's like completely impossible. Can't do
Yeah.
that really through tools like that. But there's this new thing that essentially um, eliminates that. So it's called
Hmm.
SubLive. So
Sub
online
live.
live rooms with super fast sound,
Hmm.
pioneering a new way of making music by connecting musicians all over the world with low latency and high quality audio network. No processing at a high bit rate to ensure it sounds just like how it was captured. So, and it's just, no, you don't even have to install. All you have to do is just, to have a desktop with an internet connection and
Hmm.
you're all set. So
Interesting.
pretty cool. Like, that might be actually even, for when we're talking from my side of the world over to your side of the world, which
Yeah.
is still incredible to me at all, but this would
Did it
make
works at
the
all?
lag a
Yeah.
little bit less.
Yeah. Interesting. Sub live.
Yes.
Live.
Very interesting indeed.
Sub live.
Sub.live.
Sub.live. Online live rooms. Super fast. I wonder how that works. They must be doing like direct. It probably the same
It,
kind of technology that powers Tuple, maybe.
oh, maybe. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It says, yeah, audio is prioritized over video, peer to peer along the fastest route, and raw audio at a high bit rate.
hmm,
Those are kind of the three things.
interesting.
Within the same city, latency can be as little as, it can be less than 4 milliseconds.
It's pretty
And
wild.
10 milliseconds between cities. We've been able to achieve sub 20 millisecond latency from the UK to Denmark, which is more
It's
than
1,000
1,000
kilometers.
kilometers. So interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, why not? Might as well
Interesting.
try it. Why not, right? Maybe we try that next time. Except for, again, it doesn't look like it does, video is less important, which is fine. Doesn't make a big
Hmm.
deal. I wish there was a way to do a double ender stream of video. Like, so, how, like, when you're streaming this, like your audio and your video is going to be clearer on the
Hmm.
stream because my stream is coming to you and then it's
And
going
then
through
going
your
back out.
computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we talked about this before. I think like StreamYard does that where the video goes from both ends into StreamYard rather than.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Ecamm does the thing as well. You could do like live where it will send the audio and video into Ecamm. So you've got like Ecamm rooms or something like that. No, not Ecamm,
Okay,
Restream.
sure.
Restream. So it's got like
Gotcha.
Restream rooms where you can do it the similar kind of thing where it's going directly to them and then straight out.
Yeah, we should try that.
Yeah, we'll give that a go
We should try that
sometime, see how it
sometime.
goes.
Yeah.
I've just noticed my background is blurring. If I move, it like I think we talked about this before. I've got this Detail app and they just released their 1.0 release, which now has the cinematic blur, which is good.
Cool.
But if I move
Yeah.
backwards and forwards, it like blurs and then unblurs, which is a bit jarring. So I might just turn that off and
I've got that
need to get a real
Logitech
camera.
Brio. That it's a pretty sweet webcam. Like it's not, I don't know. I think Ian Landsman has one. They're not like prohibitively expensive. They're like $200, but like it's a pretty sweet webcam, and it does some blurring as well. But yeah, I have a similar problem. And so when I'm talking at work or whatever, I'm always kind of like trying to move forward and backwards a little bit, trying to find that spot where it like stops blurring. And we've also been using this other tool called Around.
Sorry, my AirPods
for
have
meeting.
just run away to the iPad again, and I don't know why. Because I specifically went out there and turned Bluetooth off so this wouldn't happen.
You already did?
And yet, apparently, Bluetooth is back on, and
Oh, my word.
I've lost my audio. So just give me a sec, because I can't actually hear
Sure.
a word you're saying.
No problem. You're good. I will pause.
Don't know. I really don't know why this is so hard. And it's always the iPad. It's always the iPad that my thing. And I don't know what the decision making process is with the AirPods, like the firmware running the AirPods that go, oh yeah, I will disconnect from where you are actively speaking because they obviously know that I'm speaking, and I'll just go and connect to this other device. Like it should be able to do proximity to the iPad. Like my Bluetooth
Yeah.
signal from the AirPods is closer to my MacBook than it is to the iPad. Stop that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That does happen. Um, that happens with my kids
And
and
you
the
know what?
iPad as
Now that
well.
my AirPods have reconnected to the computer, there is just no sound.
Oh gosh.
I don't understand how computers work. I don't understand. Oh, here we go. Your audio device changed. Like stop changing. Just stay where you are, please. Awful.
Let's just sort that out. Are you good to go now? Nope. Nope.
I was just go
Oh
back
no.
to
He's
the
breaking
trusty
out the headphones.
wires. Hey,
Yep.
they never connect
Yep.
to the wrong place.
See, the good thing for me is that, and I know you still can't hear me, but the good thing for me is that my kids are all asleep by the time we do this podcast. So my kids have all been asleep for an hour ish.
Hello?
And hey, howdy. Can you hear me? And so I don't have this problem of
External
audio
headphones.
switching out because my kids aren't awake at this time. So no worries.
Is that better? Can I hear you now?
Sounds
Yeah,
sounds good to me.
I got you back.
Okay.
I feel like it's gotten worse recently as well. Like it was okay. It worked fine for ages, but I was outside. I had my AirPods in. I had the like the blower, and I was vacuuming my front lawn because there's all the hedges like shedded, and so there's leaves there, and Liv likes to pick the leaves up and eat them. So I was vacuuming my lawn because I have artificial lawn, of course, and yeah, it just kept connecting to the iPad on the other side of the house as opposed to the phone that was in my pocket, which is annoying.
You just need to like permanently disable Bluetooth on that thing.
Yeah. The thing is, you think you do, but by default, when you disable Bluetooth on an Apple device, it's like until tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, let's talk about some stuff that is
okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking about that Brio webcam, and I was going to say that another tool that I've been using recently, which I really, really, really like, is Around.
Yeah,
I think maybe we've talked about it. Have you talked about it?
Is it Around.co
okay, so Tuple is good, right? Tuple is great. Love Tuple. That's fine. But not everybody has it, and not everybody wants to pay for it, and blah, 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 whatever. That's fine. Support Tuple. They're great. I would use them if I was you. But in the case that you don't want to pay, or in the case that you're looking for something that doesn't need to be crazy, fast, whatever, for pairing, and you just want to like meet up with folks and share a screen, Around is a really great option. And also, they are really fast at making changes, and they're still like in beta technically, I think. And so they are constantly making awesome additions. And so it's a really, really great tool. It's been super reliable for me. And I like some of their ideas. They got some really interesting ideas. So like one of the things, the main thing actually that made me want to switch was that whenever you're doing a screen share with somebody, I feel like it sort of takes and minimizes a corner of your screen to be the video for the people that are sharing their video with you, right? So like I'm sharing my screen, and so what it does typically, if I'm in like a regular Teams meeting or something, what it does is it will take anybody that is talking and it shoves them to the bottom right of my screen, right? But I can only see one person at a time. You can't see like all 9 people. You can only see one person. Whoever the active talker is the person who you're going to see in that bottom right corner of your screen. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And with this, it shows all of them in tiny little circles, like in little circles. So you can see everybody's face, and you can put it wherever you want. You can put it along the right-hand side. So think of like an icon, like if you put like your dock over on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then they have like minimal mode too, where it's just little tiny circles, but you can still see their faces, which is cool. That circle also will follow your head around the screen. So like if you move to the left, you move to the right, that it will move, the focus of the camera to wherever your head is. So it's constantly always just on like your face.
Interesting.
And that's nice. And then the other thing is that they have these, they call them anti-fatigue filters. And so instead of it being your actual video, they have like effects. Like think of almost like an Instagram filter, but not as obnoxious. So some of them are just like a little bit of subtle color. Some will be like there will be a rainbow color, or maybe Snapchat filters is a better way to think of it. Some of them are like pixelated almost. And that's cool. So it's just like it's a representation of you, but it's not necessarily like if you don't have your hair done or whatever, it's not going to make a big difference if you have one of these filters on. And then the last thing is you can make it so that so across those bars, you can either show yourself or you can make it so that when you join to a meeting, you never actually see yourself. So for people who who don't like to see themselves on video or don't like to see their, whatever, which happens, that's true. You don't have to see yourself when you're on the chat. It just hides you, but it shows you to everybody else.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like they're doing some innovative things, really, really cool stuff. You can have you can say, start a music room, and then you can just basically have a playlist playing, and everybody can just kind of jump into that room. They have a little game that you can play with anybody. They have different games. You can play Snake with everybody, just jump into a room. It's part of the app. I don't know. It's really interesting. I feel like they're doing a good job, and I've been loving using it. So it's pretty cool.
Something different for sure. It's
I use it all the time, every day, multiple times a day.
We're remote largely. I'm 2,000 kilometers away from our head office, so we're on the phone a lot, but we don't see each other face to face. I think the last time I saw face to face anyone else from the company other than Snapchat was before I started. I think in end of January, when we were on a call just to sort of meet each other and figure all that kind of stuff out. So it's I don't know. I could go either way. I do enjoy using.
You should try it. They've got.
I do enjoy using Tuple though when I get the opportunity to do that. Yeah,
it's nice, and it's funny because Tuple, when it first started, it was screw videos of people's faces. We don't need any of that stuff. It's just show me the screen. Yeah. That's all I care about. Just show me the screen. Let me write on the screen. And that was one thing that I really missed from Tuple as well when moving over to Around, is originally you couldn't write on the screen. You couldn't draw on the screen. But now you can do that. And everybody gets their own color, and you can adjust what color it is that you can do. And I think actually Nuno and James said something about they were pairing the Laravel guys, in case that wasn't clear. Nuno and James said they were pairing the other day on some problems. And they were on Tuple all day long. And the dude who made it, I can't remember his name.
Ben,
thank you, Ornstein. Ben Ornstein was like, what were your, did you have any pain points, any suggestions? And James was like, yeah, it would be nice to be able to change the color that would be used to draw on the screen. And I was like, oh, Around can do that. So yeah, you should try it. I've really, really liked it. And it's free for now. I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll pay, but it almost reminds me of what it was when, remember when Sketch first came out, and it was like, oh my gosh, they're making changes so quickly. They're innovating so fast. They're so agile. They can lowercase a agile. And they're just constantly having new releases and all this stuff. And it's I think, I don't know if it was free at first or maybe it was, I can't remember, but it was an alternative to Illustrator. And everybody's like, this is awesome. That's kind of how this feels. It just feels like they're making changes really quickly. They have a good team. They're listening to feedback. So shout out Around.
You're right. Very interesting.
So what have you been working on these days, my friend? Or do you want me to start? You want me to start?
No, let's start. I feel like I've done most of the speaking for the last few episodes, so I reckon it's time to shift focus onto some actual Laravel stuff.
Yeah, man. It's funny because I've been working with a I built a website for some friend of mine like a long time ago. Probably, I don't know, man. It's got to be like almost a decade ago, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Maybe less than that, maybe 7 years ago. But recently, um, the host that was on is like a managed host, and so they just automatically upgrade PHP versions for you out from underneath you and don't
Uh-oh.
really tell you what's happening.
Uh-oh.
And so it just broke some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't using like a framework or anything. I was literally just using PHP for exactly what it was originally intended for, which is like just templating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Include a header, include a footer, have some, uh, just inject some variables into the page, what have you, right? Do some
Mm-hmm.
loops. And so it wasn't anything terrible to fix, but I was like, what's the best way to go about this? What should I do? And so I switched it over to Jigsaw, and man, Jigsaw is freaking awesome. I mean, it really is super good, and it does just about everything you'd need it to do. Some of the things that I did not realize it could do, which are really pretty cool, is it has like hooks. So these events that are going to fire before and after it creates the static pages. So you can do things like before you generate the static pages, I want you to go crawl a directory of images, and then I want you to take those those images, and I want to inject them into the config. And the config is kind of where you can store a bunch of, you don't have a database with Jigsaw.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could, but I don't. And so the config is just where you can kind of store, these arrays that you are going to use to build up your pages. So you can say, hey, before you build, go crawl this list of directories and look for any images. And then when you find those images, go and throw those into the config. And then you can use those when Jigsaw builds to
Mm-hmm.
build out particular pages or particular pieces,
Mm-hmm.
which is really awesome. And then you can do, hey, after everything is done building, go ahead and listen for this hook and generate a sitemap, and then write that out to the source as well, or to the destination as well. So like build underscore local or build underscore production, whichever one it is that you're building.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that's really, really freaking cool. I love that stuff. Like it makes it more than just a stupid static site generator.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a lot of power. Which is pretty cool.
I feel like the main, I guess, limitation of Jigsaw is that it's made for people like you and me. It's made for developers. You can use it for client websites, assuming that you don't really want the clients to be editing it
Very
so
true.
much.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, it does Markdown and things like that. And if you have clients that can at least build a Markdown document, then it's probably okay. But in terms of, actually building it or using it for a client website, people are so, the general population are so click and, point and click
Yep.
inclined. So a lot of that stuff then comes down to, WordPress, but then you don't really, most developers that are not WordPress developers probably don't like to play with it. And then there's, things like Prismic and whatever else that are
What was the one you mentioned, Matt? Just mentioned
Prismic.
Prismic. I've never heard of that.
It's like it's a they handle all the content management side of things, and then you build your front end on top of that. So it's like a headless CMS basically.
That's nice. Okay, so WordPress has headless CMS stuff too, right?
Yeah, so all of that kind of stuff where, you still need to have, if you've got clients that are writing content and updating their website, you still need some way of being able to do that kind of stuff. And if they're not going to write Markdown, then you got to look at alternatives. And that's what, like, I've wanted to play around with Statimate for the longest time and rebuild my own website, which I've just never got around to because I just don't have time, really.
Yep.
And I'm going to write a blog post, but before I write the blog post, I'm going to rebuild the website. By the time I finish rebuilding the website, or I get halfway through rebuilding the website, and then I've lost interest in writing a blog post or forgotten what the blog post was about. So, yeah, it's that kind of thing where I love all of this tooling that is available to us to quickly build out websites and things like that. But I'm always kind of cautious about using those things because I don't want to ever be responsible for maintaining the content of a website longer term. And that, I guess, is the main limitation for that type of tool. I love it.
Yeah,
as a tool.
that's true.
But as I said, for me, if I was doing it, even it still means that I have to sit there and like write the Markdown and run through the build process, when I'm writing a blog post. Whereas at the moment on my website, I'm just using Nova, and so I can just
Yeah.
type it up in the Markdown editor there, and then refresh the page, and I can at least see it straight away. In
Yeah.
the context of how it's going to be presented, which is always it's a different authoring experience than writing. I mean, you can have previews of Markdown, but it's not quite the same as looking at the content where it is, and then figuring out if you have to put any extra line breaks or paragraphs or whatever else in there.
Prismic looks interesting.
Not to shit on Jigsaw, of course. I love Jigsaw.
Yeah,
and I love Titan.
Yeah, the point you bring up is a good one, right? But if I want the power of Laravel,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to set up like a full, like I want to use like something like Netlify,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
All I need is static stuff. Like I don't need to set up like a server. I don't want to don't have to do any of that. Like and that's what it is, right? It's like most of the stuff. And so for some of my clients, like on the other side of things, like who are wanting to do updates, I don't like the authoring experience of dealing with something like WordPress. And again, maybe some of it's just like I don't know enough. That's possible. But man, like I have never. Okay, so case in point, one of the most outspoken advocates of WordPress is Chris Coyier, CSS Tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Like this dude loves WordPress. Do you know who this guy is?
Yeah,
Chris Coyier. Yeah, so Chris Coyier, Dave Rupert, two developer dudes. They do the Shop Talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris loves him some WordPress, right? He's always like, just use WordPress. Like everybody should just use WordPress. Like quit screwing around with all this other crap. Just use WordPress.
Yeah.
But if you go like run Lighthouse on CSS Tricks,
oh yeah,
the performance is abysmal.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I say it's abysmal. It's pretty bad. Like compared to like what you would want ideally, it's pretty bad, right? And that's from the dude who like knows WordPress, like loves him some WordPress. And to be fair, like makes his living off of this website, right? So you can't really knock it. I mean, the effects, or not the effects, but the results speak for themselves, right? He still gets visitors. He still gets traffic. He still has great rankings on like Google search stuff. Like, so apparently it doesn't matter all that much, but when you go look at it, it's just like, ew, yuck, So like, because a recent friend of mine started doing some stuff and where they had somebody do some stuff in WordPress for them. I'm like, hey, just so you know, WordPress isn't going to give you great performance. And like, sure enough, like it's not even that big of a site, but it's just like every single plugin you add is another CSS thing, and it's probably not minimized, and it's just so crufty, man. It's just like you feel like you have crap everywhere when you're using WordPress, and it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
doesn't
why
feel
things
good
like,
to me.
Pagely and WP Engine exist, and why there's such massive profitable businesses, because people will just pay $50 a month to have someone host it for you, and it handles optimization and caching and all of that kind of stuff. Like, again, same kind of thing. The average user that's authoring content for their WordPress website isn't going to be looking at Lighthouse, and they're probably not even going to notice that it takes a second or two to load a page. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I had
like,
them use WP Engine. I think that's what I told them to use, and so I think they're even using it, and it's like, well, still not like terribly awesome.
But in terms of like, and all of that Lighthouse stuff is going to be like, oh, you've got 15 scripts on the page and 30 CSS files and whatever else. But I don't know, just cache it. Doesn't matter. Serve it from CDN.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of clients that are getting their brochure site, their 5-page website put together, that are putting it on their $100 a year GoDaddy server or whatever, probably don't care anyway, to be brutally honest.
That's true. And I think some of the stuff that you benefit from with WordPress is all the templates that you have the availability towards, and like
put stuff together.
Yeah,
and like I said,
exactly,
also,
like the design process.
It's not nice, like, because you want to have more control than what the the post body text area gives you in WordPress. But mum and dad's shop, local cafe, small restaurant, all of that kind of stuff. Plumbers, electricians, they just want a contact form on a page. Really, they don't do too much more than that. Prismic is nice, it's like, in terms of having the headless CMS, and you can build it out, and then you can use Nuxt or Next or Vue or React or whatever you want to build out your front end. But and that gives you as a developer the freedom to use like modern tooling to build out the website, and it gives at least your clients the ability to have a GUI, a WYSIWYG or not even really a WYSIWYG, but having a GUI to put their content together. But again, it depends on what kind of website they're building, because it's fairly rigid unless you're going to have a full-on page builder. That WordPress gives you that kind of stuff that people can put their own stuff together. But end of the day, once you hand off that website to a client that has a page builder or whatever else, you just know they're going to trash the website because they're not going to be consistent. Even if there was one that I used when I was working at an agency, it's called Divi. And that gave
I've heard of this.
a really comprehensive thing, and you could like click and drag and have like shared components and all of that kind of stuff. You could pre-build all of this for your clients and go, explain it to them. But as soon as it's gone, like they're not going to use the components in the right places. They're not going to, they're just going to put stuff on there. They're going to copy and paste stuff out of Word documents, and all of the styles are going to be broken anyway. So
yeah, that's the other thing with WordPress too, is it's like it feels like it's fragile even with that experience too, right? Unless you're talking about having collections of a bunch of things that are the exact same. Like if you're talking about like posts, right? That whole promise of WordPress, which is like, hey, you just go edit it yourself. Like, yeah, right. Like if you wanted to change anything other than a line of text, you're screwed. Like you're never going to be able to do that, right? And that's what I told this other company, is like, hey, listen, I know the promise is like that you're just going to be able to change everything. It's like, we really need to be able to edit content whenever we need to. It's like, okay, edit content, fine. But like, if you want to change the design of anything, like it's probably not going to work. Like it's not that way. Like you're going to have to learn just as much doing it that way and spend just as much time doing it that way. Or you could just say, hey, call me and I'll get it done in an hour. You know what I mean? So I don't know. There are lots of trade-offs.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm going to sound really ignorant, but I suppose I'm interested if you know. Do you know how Statamic works? So like, I don't know how Statamic works. Like I know it's static.
Yeah.
But then you have like this web authoring experience as well, which like you can make changes up there. Like, and it just generates flat stuff. Like I don't know how that works. I do not understand it. I never have. Have you ever worked with Statamic at all? I know both of us. I feel like I feel like a while ago, maybe like 6 months ago, we're like, yeah, we're gonna get on the Statamic train. Like, let's go. And then
same thing though. Same thing. I am, just no time.
Yeah. You've got 2 of them now, so you know. You understand.
You got 4. It's ridiculous. It's a
Dude,
miracle you have
there's
time
people with way more. I know. There's people with way more kids that get more stuff done though than.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always like, like that's the excuse that immediately comes to your brain when like you see somebody who's doing all this cool crap. Like, yeah, well, you don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I actually do. Like you realize later that like, oh no, they do have like 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like, crap. I can't use that excuse anymore.
Kids? I know. What are you doing with your kids when you're doing stuff on the computer? Like I get during the day, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that's work time. And so like kids are at childcare 4 days a week, and 1 day a week they're with mum and like with their mum, my wife, with Ree, and they go and do kinder gym and they go and visit Ree's family and things like that. But on the weekends, I sat down I had a pull request come through onto one of my packages, and I sat down to review it today. I think I got about 10 minutes in before I was pulled away, and it's like, let's go and do some weeding and play out the front. And I'm like it's just when the kids are awake, there's just basically got to spend time with the kids. And then by the time the kids go to bed, like the kids are awake from 7:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night. By the time that's done, you just want to sit down. Like I don't want to go and sit on the computer and burn my eyes out with computer screen.
I hear that. Today my wife had like this women's retreat thing for like our church, and she went and hung out with a bunch of friends, which was cool. So I had the kids all day today by myself, which was fine, like wonderful. Like you're thankful. It makes you realize how much your partner does, right, to keep things rolling.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I was so tired today. It's just exhausted. And so it was like a lazy day. Got a couple things done, but mostly it was just, don't let the kids kill each other sort of deal.
Yeah.
But my oldest, thankfully, he's old enough now. Like he was like, "Hey, I'm going fishing with my friends at 12:30." It's like, "All right." So he took the little flip phone that we got him, and
Mm-hmm.
he called every, little while just to tell me about their fish stories and whatever. And I didn't see him till like 6:30. Like he just went and was
Yeah.
gone literally the whole day. It was sort of awesome. Not because he wasn't with them, but because he was out having fun with friends, like
Yeah.
out doing fun stuff out in nature, not being on a screen. And it was
I know.
wonderful.
See, this is the thing. Eli's 3, so we can't really send him packing. We
No, not really.
If he had his way, he would sit and watch the iPad all day, which,
Mm,
obviously we try and avoid that. We give him an hour or so
yeah.
here and there, or, before childcare, when he comes home from childcare until dinner time, he gets a bit here and there. But it's like they've got so much energy, and just keeping them engaged and like doing stuff all the time is taxing.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
back to Statamic. I mean, I guess they just put everything onto files and then they get read by the app somehow, and then they get spat back out as HTML. But there's like, it talks about end-to-end version control, and so what the you write a post which creates
Yeah.
a file which then gets added to Git, which then gets pushed to, like, what I suppose what is the life cycle there in terms of actually doing that revision history?
Yeah. I mean, it's their website is really good, by the way, if you haven't gone to Statamic, but it has like a choose your own Statamic adventure. Pick one to be showered with relevant knowledge, facts, and imagery. So it says writers and publishers. You can click here and then it shows you here's all the things that you're going to need to know. And then it's like developers and designers. Here's all the stuff that you're going to need to know. And it talks about, version control and dev tools and whatever. Writers and publishers, it does talk about the revision history. And then it has like business bottom liners. Here, why do you want to use Statamic, right? It's more secure, save money, ship faster, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, I guess I would just need to learn, spend the time to dig into it. I guess that makes sense. If it writes out a actual file, I don't know how it goes back into version control though.
Right, that's
I
my
guess you'd
thing.
have to
Like,
give
how
it
does
access
yeah,
to GitHub.
it's running, it's running Git commits and then running Git. I like when you click on those things. There's a little Jack McDade sound that goes.
Yeah. You think that sounds like I don't know if you ever do you think that's his voice? Do you think that's Jack McDade
It's
going?
100% his voice. It's 100% his
That's
voice.
hilarious. And also it sounds like dang it, what was it called? Doug Funny? Like what was the name of that show? Hey, no. It was just called Doug, wasn't it?
Wasn't it? Was it?
Just called Doug?
Don't know.
There's like Skeeter and like Patty Mayonnaise. Did you ever watch this show? You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Patty Mayonnaise. Yeah, it was Doug. Yeah, it was Doug.
That sort of stuff. That's a Jack McDade right there. Kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean,
So
I suppose,
I'm still no further along the way to understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I
how
suppose
it
if
works,
you're deploying this to a Forge site, then the site's running as the Forge user, which has access to your Git repository. So it's probable that it's just running, Git add new file, Git commit, and off it goes. Surely, I'd set some homework to say like go and figure out how Statamic works, and then report back next time. But
That's a good idea. We should do that. Yeah, we should try that.
We've got 2 weeks to.
Just so we can talk, just so we can look a little bit more into like exactly how it is, because it's so, here's the question. Can you do like what Jigsaw does? I mean, I think you can, right? Where you compile it locally and then ship it up to like something like Netlify. Can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's dynamically powered by PHP and Laravel until you need to go static. So I guess, because you're not pre-building, it's like the serving of the assets are static. It'll compile the HTML and it'll spit back a cached version of it. But it's still running on a server. It's still running PHP, unless you want to go static, in which case you would run, I think their artisan or
The build step local.
Yeah, the build step is like please. It's the command is called please, and you go like please build, and then it'll build your HTML and push it up, or you would push it to GitHub locally, and then it would run that in Netlify or whatever, that build command, and then you just generate the public HTML. So
the cool thing is like with Netlify, like you can still run like, so I'm running the build production step using PHP on Netlify.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just
yeah, Yeah,
And I think Netlify originally was like Jamstack stuff, but like you could even do that too. Like you can say, hey, Netlify, you're going to run the PHP stuff, but don't put that behind my site. Just spit out the static files, right? So, I mean, you could even still do that. Seems like there's a lot of options, a lot of different ways you could accomplish the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. 3 reasons Statamic is more secure than WordPress. SQL injection. We can't have SQL injection if there's no SQL team. Fundamental features built on Laravel. Statamic stores all of your content, templates, assets, and settings in files instead of a database. You can see them, touch them, edit them, and in any editor of your choosing, and even email them to a colleague. This allows us to version control your entire website. You can roll the site back at any point, work on alternate branches without affecting the site, and merge changes back when they're ready. Your site is always backed up and blah, blah, blah. Okay. It can be copied and pasted and shared. Developers are more proactive in working with version control code. If you ever do need a database, Statamic's database data storage system can be adapted to any storage method. Yeah, I want to live safely in my theory that that's what it's doing, that it's, writing a flat file and then adding that to Git and then pushing it. Because the docs take you to statamic.dev. Diving deeper, sending email structures, revisions, static. Like you got static caching, obviously.
Yeah. So it feels like, yeah, like I said, like you said, like, so here's the pitch at the top, right? There's no database until you need one. So you could use either. It's a front to back CMS until you need to go headless. So you could do that too. It's dynamically powered by PHP Laravel until you need to do static. Okay, so you could do either of those. It's full stack until you go Jamstack. Hosted on PHP 7 until you want to go serverless. Use a control panel unless you don't feel like it. You can use a code editor. And so it's like you could just go 10 different ways. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get Jesse or something on here next time, or Jack or somebody to talk to us about Statamic and tell us all the wonderful things that we can do with it.
Yeah.
Does that sound fair?
I think that sounds fair.
Okay.
I'm sure either of them would be interested in doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, other news here then. I've been listening to Daniel and Caleb argue about transducers for a couple of weeks. That's been fun.
Have they figured out what they are yet? I have.
I'm almost at the end of this like 2-hour episode where Daniel's trying to convince Caleb that they're a good idea, right? Let me see, how long is this episode? It's no, it's not that long. It's an hour and 45 minutes.
Some of their episodes do go for quite
it's
a
almost 2 hours. It's almost 2 hours. It's been really fun to listen though. It's been really interesting. So it's been a hot minute since I've used collections for a whole lot of stuff. But I've got a new dev on the team now, and I'm introducing him. I don't know if introducing is the right word. He knows collections, but I think I'm pushing him more to say like, there will never be another for each loop in any of our code ever. It's sort of like the stake in the ground that
Sometimes
I drove.
For each
yeah, it's I know that's probably not a good rule. It's probably actually I don't know. There are times where like for each, but like I don't know. Are you like me where if you see for each, you sort of like, I don't know. Do you do that, or is for each not even a problem for you?
In my day job, no.
No, well, no, not in your day job.
So much of Laravel gives you a collection anyway. If you query the database, you're getting a collection back.
Yeah.
So it's
a native structure. It's not like there's any problem with using for each. Like I think I've just, I don't know. I think I'm so used to seeing collections everywhere, and I think they give you so much power that I've kind of just started defaulting to using them. So like anytime I need to loop over practically anything, I'm using a collection, right? But if you're just doing something pretty low level, I suppose a for each is totally fine.
Yeah,
right?
If I don't need to like loop over it and then back over it and manipulate it and things like that, like I will regularly use array filters, array maps.
Sure. That's fair. I do that too.
Native PHP functions. There are, if I've got an array of like 3 items and I know it's 3 items, I'm not going to, create a collection of that and then get the object overhead.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I don't know. I don't think
Hold on,
there's a definitive
let me
line
pull a
in the
Daniel
sand.
a D call. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He does that a lot.
Mhm. But
I love you, D
yeah,
Cole. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Like if there's like a short item list of items, I'll manipulate those manually.
yeah,
But anytime I have a list of things that I'm going to be going over and doing more than one thing, I think for me maybe some of it too is it's not that you can't do it in 5 different ways. It's not that you can use a collection or a for each or a while or a array filter, array map. You could do it like 100 different ways, right? You could. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's more just for me, like if we always standardize on using collections, you never really have to worry about it. Like everybody should just kind of know this is what it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Like my last
I don't
job,
know.
we tried to use collections wherever possible, but that's, because we had the structure there already, and rather than going from collections to arrays and back and things like that, or converting arrays to collections, it was just easier to stay in one data structure. But
Yep.
I don't think there's a definitive line in the sand, other than, like, as I said, small lists of things that, I'm not going to collect an array of 10 strings. I would do something with those strings directly,
Yep.
Or if I've got like a lookup table in a class for something, I'm just going to return an array. I'm not going to return a collection or anything crazy.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
So.
No, for sure. Like I don't mean that I don't use arrays. I mean I don't use for eaches. Like I use arrays all over the place, right?
Sure,
If I have to loop over them.
But if I was gonna loop over a lookup table, I wouldn't convert it to especially in PHP 8 now.
I
You wouldn't even
typically
do that
use
anyway. You
if
would
I'm
just
doing
do
a
like return and then array, like your square brackets and then your things, and then square bracket dollar, key question mark
sure
default or whatever. Like you wouldn't even have to.
Of course.
You don't even have to iterate over them in modern versions of PHP now. It's just that much cleaner.
No,
So.
absolutely. And so like I don't, it's just that when I have to loop over the contents of an array, not doing a lookup, right? Like I use a, map, what did you call them?
Hash lookup tables.
Yeah, like thank you. Lookup table. Yeah. I use that all the time, right? I do that all the time. Typically in those situations, I'll either use like a match or I'll use array get or data get because I like those because you can search on an array. It's kind of like you can with config, the config where you can kind of do these nested ... stuff. And then you can provide a default if it doesn't have it, or you can actually pass a closure as well as the default, and then you could throw an exception in that case. So you could say, instead of at the top of your function saying, hey, if it's not in this array, throw an exception, you can just say, look up the map, and then if you don't have any matching values, then throw an exception at that point, right? Or provide a default value of null or of whatever else you want the default value to be. So that's how I kind of do like lookup tables like that. It's using array get or data get, which are both Laravel stuff, Laravel thingies.
Yeah.
And also, Mr. Dorinda, I'm afraid I'm probably going to have to cut this a little bit short. My one dude is really, really sick.
Oh, no.
He's not feeling great. And the mama just asked me to bring some stuff up for him. So
all right, let's do it.
I could probably make a couple more minutes here. Yeah. We could wrap anything else we want to if there's anything else you wanted to talk about before we go, but otherwise
no, we can wrap.
I'm good.
I'm gonna
Okay.
Statamic have got a 15-part Statamic 3 guide on their YouTube channel from installing and,
Oh, sweet.
and all that kind of stuff. So I can make time to watch that stuff. Maybe I'll
There you
be
go.
smarter at the end of it. Hopefully they talk
There you go. I'm
specifically
sure.
about it.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds fun. Hey, this is episode 106. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening to episode 106. If you want to find show notes for this episode, you can find them at northmeetsouth.audio/106. Hit us up on Twitter at Michael Dorita, at Jacob Bennett, or at North South Audio. And as always, we really appreciate a 5-star review. That would be amazing. All right, folks. Until next time, we'll see ya.
Bye.